welcome back to my channel. I am so happy you're here today because I'll be talking about some of my favorite horror books I read in 2022. I know the year is not over yet, so I might still read a 5-star book, but I am definitely slowing down because I hit my goal of 200 books this year. I had an awesome reading year. I read a lot of great books, and especially the second half of the year. I did this video the first half of the year. I'll link it in the description box down below. But yeah, I thought this video would be fun for people who are planning their 23 and 23. I know those are really popular right now, so you can get some ideas or some recommendations from this video. And yeah, I'm just so excited to talk about these books, and I have a lot to talk about. So let's get right into it. The first book I want to talk about is Halloween Slaughter by Sergio Gomez. I read this for Halloween weekend. I think I totally forgot about that. And this was so much fun. This is the sequel to Camp Slaughter, and it is much longer than Camp Slaughter, but I think what Sergio Gomez does in this book is so good. The character work, you really care for the characters. For once in a slasher, I feel like I don't usually care about the stupid high schoolers in the slasher that are going to be murdered. But then this one, it got pretty emotional, and I really liked that. I liked the different POVs. It has one of the best openings I've ever read in a slasher, other than My Heart is a Chainsaw. That one has a very cinematic opening as well. Same with this one. I was totally hooked, and for a 400-page book on Kindle that I read, it went by super quickly, and I highly suggest checking this one out. It's on KU. Make it a double feature, Camp Slaughter and Halloween Slaughter. You can do no wrong. And the next book that I ended up reading, I did already talk about a lot in the Christmas Evil book tag, but that was Katie by Michael McDowell. Absolutely love this book. This was one of my last McDowell books I read this year, back in July, and I had a blast with it. 5-star read. This is a revenge story, a Victorian story. There's a little bit of romance. You're really rooting for an underdog in this, and you are hating Katie. I highly suggest picking up any McDowell books, but especially Katie, The Amulet, and Cold Heart Over Babylon. Oh my gosh. Cold Moon Over Babylon. In 2023, I will be reading the Blackwater series in 2023, and I'm super excited. But yeah, highly suggest picking up any of his books next year. The next two books are actually novellas that I gave 5 stars and I absolutely loved, and that's Scanlines by Todd Kiesling. This is a mixed media little novella here. It's about like a cursed videotape. Somebody ends up watching it. Actually, it's online. They end up watching it, but then they end up trying to track it down, but it does go back, and it doesn't go back in time. It has like a different timeline in the 90s. And actually, when I met Todd Kiesling in November, he told me this is connected to Devil's Creek in a way. So I'm very excited to read Devil's Creek and more from him, and he signed my my edition here. It's really funny what he said. He said, "Here's the feel-good horror of 2021." And the next novella was You've Lost a Lot of Blood by Eric LaRocca. This is a novella within a novella, and I had a lot of fun with how weird this was. And yeah, each of the sections is split up by this great art of a centipede, which was really cool and fit in it to one of the story in this. The story I did like in this was like a serial killer story, like a couple, I guess, kind of one of the boyfriends dealing with his boyfriend being a killer, and I thought that was really funny. The dialogue was written really well, and I feel like Eric LaRocca does these really great relationships in his book, like the dialogue and the back and forth. He builds so much tension in such a short amount of pages, and I really loved that about this. And then the other storyline in this was kind of weird. I don't want to say what it even reminded me of or gave me vibes, but if you like this certain genre, you'll definitely like this other novella. And I loved the ending of this because it's kind of done in like a found footage way, and highly suggest picking up You've Lost a Lot of Blood. And yeah, I'm excited to read more from Eric LaRocca in 2023. I just got like his new short story collection as well, so excited to dive back in. So switching gears a bit, I'm going to talk about a spooky middle grade, and that's Hide and Seeker by Daka Harmon. I had so much fun with this middle grade. It really scared me, and I learned that this year that middle grade is scary, it's terrifying, it's intense, and you really you know, feel for the characters. Yeah, and this one had me crying a bit, and so many emotions, and I think I talked about it a lot at the end of summer, and yeah, I still feel the same when I think about it. I still have goosebumps about it, actually, and the clackety as well. I didn't write it on my list, but this was a very recent read of mine, and I gave it 5 stars, and it's another spooky middle grade. But yeah, highly suggest picking up Hide and Seeker or the clackety for some middle grade spooks. I think middle grade is great to break up darker books that you've been reading, or darker thrillers or anything. I know I tend to reach for them when I'm reading a lot of dark books, but this one is so good. Isn't this cover great? And this is like a game of hide and seek, and they like call upon some evil. Oh, I just gave myself goosebumps. I'm creeped out thinking about it. And the next book I'm going to talk about is SLewfoot by Bram. I loved this book. I read this for Halloween Weekend Readathon. I think it was Erin's pick for Host Fave, and I absolutely loved it. I've been meaning to read it, and I loved reading it during Halloween, and I actually borrowed the physical copy, and I had so much fun with it. I'm actually reading Krampus right now, and Bram definitely has a very unique style with his storytelling, and I really like that. I noticed that he does a great underdog story where you're rooting for the main character, and I absolutely loved it, and the artwork in this is fantastic, and yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. The next book I'm going to talk about is Curse of the Reaper by Brian Macaulay. I loved this book. This is an arc that Brian sent me. We're friends over on Instagram, and I'll link his Instagram down below because he posts really cute pictures of his dog. But anyways, I ended up meeting him as well in November, but I read this I think in September of this year, and I was hooked. I had so much fun with this book. I was kind of savoring it because it is so well, and this is a debut novel, and I was kind of shocked, and yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. This is about kind of like a washed up slasher star who played the villain in this in these movies, and the chapters are broken up by screenplays from the movies that have very cheesy kill scenes in them, and I was loving that. If you're a fan of slasher movies or cheesy slasher movies, you'll love the screenplay scenes. I was like looking forward to them every chapter, but also you really feel for the main character in this because he's having some issues and it's like more of a psychological horror, and it felt very reminiscent of The Shining, and that's probably why I liked it so much. It's like The Shining with a slasher twist in it, and I just absolutely loved it. It's very creepy. It had a lot of tension, and I loved it. Check it out. 5 stars, and I can't wait to read Brian's next book. I'm so excited. The next book I'm going to talk about I also read for Halloween Weekend Readathon, and that is The Fisherman by John Langan. This is a cosmic horror book, and it is wild. I hesitate recommending this book though. If you don't like cosmic horror, don't read this book because it is super cosmic-y. It literally, the whole book is pretty much like a story of a story. And it takes forever, and I know that is not people's jam. If people meet a character, they want to stay with that main character the whole time, and it doesn't do that here. I did like it though, because it just kept getting crazier and crazier and crazier. It was like you were going more into darkness, if that makes any sense, and you were finding out more, and then it circles back around at the end, and the ending is so crazy and disturbing, and it had great imagery, and it was amazing. It was great. I loved it. But this is about 2 friends who are widowers, and they kind of bond going fishing, and they're looking for like a certain, I think it's a creek, like a magical creek, like Fountain of Youth sort of thing, that is local legend, and they get like a local legend from a person at a diner, and it was just a blast. I had so much fun with this one. I listened to it on audio. I highly suggest. The narration was done very well. 5-star read if you are looking for some cosmic horror in your life. Pick up The Fisherman. The next book I'm going to talk about, I'm 100% biased on, because it takes place in Richmond, Virginia, and a lot of stuff is like actually called out in it. Richmond feels like a whole different character in this book, and that is Ghost Eaters by Clay McLeod Chapman. I absolutely love this book so much. It's more than a ghost story. It is grief, addiction, lost, history, lots of history in this, and almost like, what is it called? Like, it felt very spiritualist, like the spiritualist movement is kind of mixed in with like punk rock elements, if that makes any sense. Words, can I say them? Do I have them in my brain today? But basically this is a book about a group of friends who experience a huge loss in their lives, and they end up taking a pill to see him again, to see Ghost, and it has a great tag in this, or a great line, fuck it, let's get haunted, and I absolutely love that. There's great imagery in this that is called from like the spiritualism movement, and I met Clay recently as well, and he was like, oh, you're a Richmonder or whatever, like, I know I got stuff wrong, and I was like, you did, but it did not bother me at all, because honestly this story is so good, and I was just so happy to have like Richmond like represented in such a spooky way. It's fantastic. I highly suggest, even if you're not, you know, a Richmonder, checking out Ghost Eaters by Clay McLeod Chapman. It was fantastic. The next book I'm going to talk about is another debut novel, and that is Mary by Nate Cassidy. I absolutely love this book so much, and me thinking about it again, I am like, so much, because I've just spoiled it twice talking about it. So without giving anything away, if you are looking for a great character read, if you are looking for rooting for the underdog story, if you're looking for a story that is equally as scary as it is points out the sexism in the culture that we live in, pick up Mary. It is fantastic. I absolutely love it. If you like a cult story, pick up Mary. I don't know what else to say. If you like A24 movies, pick up Mary. But anyways, Mary's being told she is going through the change of life pretty much, and that she's, you know, needs to just deal with it. She gets fired from her job, and then she gets called from her estranged aunt that she needs to come back home to Arizona to take care of her because she's dying. And so she goes, and there's some weird stuff going on in the town. That is all I'm going to say. I'm not going to spoil it for a third time and have to retake it. But yeah, pick up Mary if you haven't already. I know I talked about this a lot this fall, but I still feel the same. I absolutely love this book. I love this story, and I'm excited to see what all these authors write next, because wow. The next book I'm going to talk about is Ushers Passing by Robert McCammon. This is my first McCammon book, and I absolutely loved it. I read this for Kelsey's book club pick, The Midnight Society, and Kelsey's channel will be linked down below. And oh my gosh, I had so much fun with this. It was great. The audiobook is fantastic. The narrator did a perfect job with some of these southern accents in this. This is like a southern gothic book that was written in the 80s, and it's about it's another Ushers Follow the House Usher retelling. I must really like that, like those. And this is about the Usher's family and how they have like this condition, and the father's not doing well, and the son has to go back home to North Carolina, to Usherland, That was horrible. But basically it is a very weird story. I don't want to give too much away about it because I feel like the Pumpkin Man aspect of this story was like so much fun to like read and like discover. So I don't want to talk about that one as much, but there is a Pumpkin Man and there's family drama and it is a gothic, Southern Gothic tale, and I highly suggest listening to the audiobook for this one, and if you can find a vintage copy, get that too because I'm on the hunt. And the next book I'm going to talk about is a dark romance, which is what? Weird. Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. I absolutely love this cover. I just found it at my local bookstore and I talked about this in my tag video as well. But this is a dark romance about a woman who is married to Dracula, but he's never named. She's just writing a letter to him about how like messed up he is. And yeah, I thought it was a really beautiful story. And I had a lot of fun with it. I love the audio for this, and I didn't think I would like this as much as I did, but highly suggest if you're looking for a little short vampire romance book. I highly suggest Dowry of Blood. The next 3 books I'm just gonna like talk about very quickly because I literally just talked about them in my November wrap-up. These were all 5-star books for me. When Darkness Loves Us by Elizabeth Enstrom. This is a novella that is so creepy and insane. It's a paperback from hell, and that did get reprinted, but this is about a girl who is 16 and she gets trapped underground and ends up giving birth and is there for years eating slugs, and that is all I can say about it. I am excited to read the other book in this little paperback. And the next book is Penpal by Dathan Arborback. This is a creepypasta that was, I believe, performed on the No Sleep podcast, and it is done in a, it is a book now, and it was very good. It was very creepy. I read this in the dark at night, and I had a blast with it. This is about a little boy who is, well, he's an adult now, but he's looking back when he was a little boy to all the creepy stuff that happened to him, and that is all I'm going to say. Each chapter was so creepy. The endings of the chapters kept me going, and yeah, if you are looking for a very scary time, check out Penpal. And the next book I'm going to talk about is White Horse by Erica Ruth. I'm not going to talk about it too much because I talked about it in my wrap-up, but I'm 100% biased why I gave this one 5 stars as well. All the King references in this. There is like a good chunk of the ending of this book that is like a one big King reference, and I absolutely loved it, and I had a lot of fun with it, and I also really like Carrie as a character, one of my favorite characters of 2022. I know I've said that 3 times in this video, but along with Abatha and Mary, Carrie. So there you have it. Those are my favorite books of 2022, horror books, because that's mostly what I read. What were some of your reads in 2022? Let me know, and you guys have a great day. Bye.